walks up to your front door of your house. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, I'm here knocking at your door. That's what, hi, I'm here to connect with you on LinkedIn. What do you want? Why should I let you into my metaphorical house? If you can't tell me at knock number 1, there's not a knock number 2 and a knock number 3.
My guest today is Marc Halpert. Here's 3 facts that I think you should know about Marc. 1, he gives his clients 125% of his energy, akin to the client service quality he expects from others. Just read his books to feel his high-octane energy. 2, he was an early adapter of LinkedIn. He was number 200,003, 398 in 2004, actively contributing his point of view among over 850 million global businesses pros today. And 3, he loves flower gardening and taking extreme close-up pictures of flowers and pollinators. That means he gets real close to those bees.
That's right.
Marc Halpert, welcome to Your Intended Message.
Thanks, George. I really appreciate this.
Delighted to be talking with you. Today we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. And if you're in business today, if you have a career, you want to grow a career, then you've heard of LinkedIn. Marc, what are people doing wrong on LinkedIn?
Well, a lot of people aren't using LinkedIn a lot. Okay? So think about when you met somebody and you walk away and you forget them immediately until they come back to you or you see them again. And it makes the mind skip back. Where did I meet this person? What is this? What did that person say that was interesting to me? Well, if you're not pinging on that person's mental memory radar screen frequently, define your own frequency. Frequently, enough every time that you have something important to say and add, then you're going to be forgotten. And people who are forgotten don't get business. They're not read, they're not commented on, they're not followed, they're not connected to, and last and most importantly, they're not referred. Now, the only reason I know you, George, is because I got referred by Scott Mason, who's been a guest. And you asked Scott, who do you consider to be a good speaker? Who should be on your show? And bang, I came up on the list. And I've got my list of other people, which I'll tell you later. I've got people that I rely upon consistently for the best of the best of the best. And when you say to me, hey, do you know somebody who does this? My Rolodex, remember Rolodex, flips around in my head. Now it's electronic. And I give you 1 or 2 of the ones I think attune to your needs best. So I'm making a critical assessment of who you should speak to at my referral because they earned it. And why did they earn it? Because they consistently provide me quality. And I can never be embarrassed by somebody who doesn't do well on your show. So these are people that I trust will always perform. And that's how we use the tool of LinkedIn. Now I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, if you don't mind, George. And that is, it is not a job board, folks. It is not a job board. Most people say, well, I need a job. I'll go jump into my LinkedIn profile. I'll make it a whole lot better. Well, that's too late when you need a job to make it a whole lot better. Because you should be marketing yourself every day of your career, whether you're in a job, working for somebody else, or you're like me, like George, working for yourself. And the only person who can speak for George is George. And the only people who speak for me is Marc. And we have to say it well every single time. You make a comment on the banner of your LinkedIn profile, and that is every read of your profile is a critical presentation. I just adapted yours a little bit. Everybody you speak to is a board of directors quality person. If they don't get your quality, too bad. It wasn't meant to be. If they get your quality, go have a field day. Use it well.
Marc, and you caught my attention with LinkedIn is not a job board. At one time, It was. It was a place to, well, maybe not a job board, but that was the original purpose. And both you and I, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we know that we need to be constantly marketing and selling. But a person who has a job, they think they can stop spreading their message, stop promoting themselves. And that's a danger.
It's a big mistake, worse than a danger, because the moment you stop promoting yourself, your company is just making you one of the rats in the maze. All right. You're just rolling around, going. If you can't convince other people in your company, maybe in other departments, or you want to rise to some other position about the value you bring to the company by how you project the company marketing strategy, the marketing message, then you're just a worker bee. Who wants to be a worker bee? Right? If you are not consistently adding material about what you accomplished on behalf of the company, you're not differentiating yourself within the company. You're not going to be in that company for your whole life. I don't know anybody who retires after 60-something years working for a company. They just fade away. People move around every year. People I know move out every 6 months to a new job because the market is such right now that you have to be visible, attention getting in a good way, all right, not crazy, and relevant. So the way to do that is to share. We're here to learn. LinkedIn is a water cooler of 850 million people. Let's share material, information, and ideas around that water cooler.
How often should we be sharing?
Every time you have something important to say. Okay? I don't care if it's Saturday or Sunday. I don't care if it's midnight or 4 a.m. because the world goes all day long, every day. All right? I can talk to somebody on Sunday morning and it's already Monday morning in New Zealand. Okay? So my folks in New Zealand are reading me on Sunday morning. All right? So good. So I choose what to project, when to project it. I can hold material. I can put it out there. Say I don't have something on a Monday morning. I like to be a Monday morning person. People are more attentive to what's going on Monday morning. So I'll put something that's more useful for the rest of the week on Monday morning. Now, I blog every single business morning at 8 a.m. Set your watch to my blog post coming your way on my LinkedIn channel, a LinkedIn profile, on my YouTube, on my, everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, it's out there. I can set WordPress to go out and send to everybody out there at 8 a.m. Or you can subscribe at 8 a.m. if you want to get it directly. I don't care how you get it. So long as you think of what I'm sharing with you is something valuable. I get a lot of people asking me, well, I don't really want to go out there every day and do something. We can do something every other day. And some days you may have 3 and 4 things to say in a day because they're so important in what's going on in your industry. So there are no LinkedIn emergencies, thank goodness. All right. So no one calls me in the middle of the night and says, hey, I got a problem with my LinkedIn profile. But there are some industries where there are emergencies and they have to be handled right away. So you want to let other people know. We had an emergency in my industry. Here to other folks in my industry is how you can preclude having that happen to you. And people do that. And they actually post every time they learn something new to protect other people. It's a public service announcement. See, not a job board, but why you do what you do. What makes you, my word, amazing-er. Everybody's amazing. All right, I sat with you, George. I figured out immediately what makes you amazing. We talked, we had an interesting conversation. I walked away, made some notes. That's what George amazingness is, okay? I had all that information from Scott as well. But how is your podcast amazinger than any other podcast running at the same time? Why should I give time to yours versus somebody else's? Why should I read your profile versus somebody else's in the same space as yours? If you get on the short list of people being considered to teach me how to speak in front of an audience, why would I choose you versus anybody else? And that's what differentiates us as entrepreneurs, because we all compete with each other. Luckily, in my industry as a LinkedIn coach and trainer, I compete and cooperate at the same time with people I call cooperators. Okay? Compete and cooperate and compete, whichever way you want to say it. But we help each other. We all know a little something the other doesn't. So we've agreed to help each other. Now, there's some people I compete with dead on, and that's part of the world. And that's fine. But I say it in my profile so you get the comfort level that when you pick up the phone and call me or you Zoom with me, what I'm saying to you sounds just like what you read on my LinkedIn profile. So there's no disconnect buzzers going off somebody's head. And they stop thinking, they stop listening. It's like the spaghetti sauce on your shirt. You know, it's all they look at is the flaw, and they don't concentrate on the benefit. So it's vital. If you read me, if you hear me, if you speak to me, you're going to get the same me, amazinger, hopefully, than my competitors or cooperators.
Marc, when you're posting on your blog and on LinkedIn, are you posting your knowledge, your expertise? Is that is that what you're doing?
I often will read something and say, you know, I like this article. I'm going to overlay my perspective based upon my experience on top of it. So I'll give my little blurb about this article really spoke to me because, or I think this author is spot on except for point number 3, and here's why. Professional disagreement is good, okay? Or read this article, let me know what you liked about it. I'll give you a hint. I liked the way the author talks about how you project yourself in your speaking habits. Or I like the way the author talks about body language in a virtual world. Why do you agree with me? I end every post with a call to action. Because most people are completely lazy, brain dead. They will not, no matter how hard you ask them, they will not comment in words. They'll give you clapping hands and they'll give you thumbs up and smiley faces, and that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not in the 5th grade, okay? I want to know in words, why did you like something? Why do you disagree with me? How have you had experience in this in a way that you can impart your knowledge to me so I can put it in my back pocket and use it when I need it? How can I tell you how I overcame an obstacle so you can use it in your back pocket when you need it? That's what we're here to do. Help each other. And hopefully, if you read me and you like what you saw, then you can say to your other friend who you hear has a similar problem, yeah, I heard this guy on this podcast. It was great, the intended message. Your intended message is, what I'm doing right now, is hopefully to get referred to somebody else, because that's why I do this. This is marketing.
Marc, a couple thoughts came to mind as you were talking there. One was that you're not simply dumping your knowledge and facts. You're actually providing your perspective, your insights on what you're seeing. So by doing that, you're demonstrating your thinking, which is more valuable than just plain facts. And the second part that occurred to me is that when you pose a question and encourage people to participate, you're stimulating conversation.
Absolutely. Okay. So you're curating, of all the material you're reading, the best to share with others. Okay. You don't get to see everything I read because I don't want you to. All right. I read some really bad stuff. I read some mediocre stuff. Why am I going to share that? It doesn't do me any good or anybody else any good for reputation or for their learning process. But when I ask a question on top of a piece that I really like, and hopefully you've read it, you can come back to me and say, wow, this was really spot on. It's exactly what I wanted to know about. You really helped me. And my immediate response to that comment is, so glad I helped you. Makes me feel good. Let me know how it ends. Or, really glad to hear that. I have more information for you. Why don't we hop on a Zoom? Maybe we can help each other. All right, I haven't offered to connect to anybody yet. You didn't hear me say that yet. All right. He can follow me or she can follow me. I can follow him or her. Fine. Following is completely benign. When you connect to somebody on LinkedIn, you are trading a privilege. And that is that that privilege is not to be forsaken. And you can, if that privilege is abused, you can disconnect from them without any problem, without any issue. But if that privilege is encouraged and it's nurtured, it becomes a huge collegial effort for who knows how long.
Mark, help us understand the connecting process. So a person can send me a message and say, I want to connect with you, and I can do the same. How do you decide which connections to accept?
Yeah. I tell everyone, all my clients, never let LinkedIn send the boilerplate, bland, boring, mindless connection request. Okay. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Well, who the hell are you? Okay. Why should I connect with you? What do you do? Why are you amazinger than everybody else in your field? I mean, this is what I was talking about before. Cut it off at the pass. Say, I saw you at a conference. I saw you on your intended message. I met you through. My friend so-and-so suggests I speak to you. I would like to get to know how we can help each other. Make it something in it for me. I have something in it for them. Tell me. My immediate comment is, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's hop on a Zoom and see where it goes. Okay. No promise to connect to somebody. All right. By immediately asking to connect to somebody, you automatically follow that person on LinkedIn. So most people don't know that. Okay. So if I don't connect with you for whatever reason, you can still follow me. I got 21,000 followers all over the world. I'll never meet them. But somehow, one way or another, they thought I offered something that they wanted to toss their hat into my ring to hear what I had to say every day at 8 a.m. and then some. Okay, because everybody connects to you, follows you, sees everything you write. But when it comes time to connect, the connections can see everybody you're connected to by virtue of the privilege you exchange to connect to somebody. So don't do what happened to me some time ago, and that somebody connected to me and then started to poach all my clients. Happens all the time. Well, in the legal profession, in the accounting profession, I hear it all the time. How do I protect myself? That's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother situation. But it makes it a privilege to connect to somebody. So I like to use the metaphor. Someone walks up to your front door of your house. Knock, knock, knock. You say, who's there? Just don't say, hi, I'm here knocking at your door. That's what, hi, I'm here to connect with you on LinkedIn. What do you want? Why should I let you into my metaphorical house, where my metaphorical family of connections that I nurture and take very good care of live? Why? If you can't tell me at knock number 1, there's not a knock number 2 and a knock number 3. Sorry, I just ignore you. But sometimes I get people saying, well, I offered to connect with you. I didn't know you could do that. And I'm a good friend to so-and-so. And they said, I should speak to you. Well, why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you save yourself and me the effort of volleyballing this whole thing around? Oh, I didn't think about that. Well, why? Then I'm beginning to make my own mental image of, do I really want to be involved with this knucklehead? I mean, really? And who would I ever refer this person to if they don't do their homework and see? So if you read my LinkedIn profile, anybody listening, you read my LinkedIn profile and you want to connect with me, there's this magic secret word in my profile that you have to include in your LinkedIn connection request to me. Then I know you're worth considering because you took the time to read and you saw what I said. Now, sometimes I get people who want to connect with me and they have a really interesting background. I will look at some profiles if it really makes sense for me, and I'll read them and I'll say back to them in a LinkedIn message, how can I help you? And they got 5 days to respond. They can't figure it out in 5 days. They're not coming into my house. And some people say, you sound kind of haughty. You sound kind of obnoxious. Well, you know what? I got 3,300 connections and 21,000 followers. And just about everybody served at this point. And if you want to come into that mighty house, you got to do better than what you do. So there you go. High octane, Marc's philosophy on connections.
And Marc, I certainly agree with you. I think of the time a young fellow knocked on my front door selling something, and his first words were, "We were in the neighborhood," and I replied with, "So what?"
Yeah. So are a lot of other people, right?
And he didn't have an answer. He just backed away. I never learned what he was selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing applies to people who just send that automatic LinkedIn message, which shows to me that they're lazy.
Yes. Either mentally or physically. So I get a lot of people. I have the most amazing hack that your company really needs to learn how to really use LinkedIn. Well, you're really brilliant because you didn't read my profile. Why are you going to tell me how to use LinkedIn? All right. I want to sell you a bridge. No, I'm not interested. I mean, I get these all day, every day. There was a spate of Ghanaian women wearing very low cut shirts who were all hairdressers. Now look, I mean, I don't need a hairdresser in Ghana. I mean, really, I don't need a hairdresser, who wanted to get to know me. I hear stories of men and women who get hit on LinkedIn. Hi, I saw your picture. I thought you were really attractive. I'd like to get to know you. Maybe we can go out. Well, really, folks, you're in the wrong social media. So, I mean, and those are the people you want to report to LinkedIn. I'll give you 10 seconds on that. LinkedIn is self-policed. LinkedIn cannot be expected to police everything that happens on LinkedIn. And when you see something that offends you morally, mentally, emotionally, racially, gender-driven, whatever it is that you think smells funny, it is smelling really bad to other people as well. Help everybody else out. Let's sweep up the garbage, get them out. So LinkedIn will warn people once, and the second time they warn, if they get another report, they're out. And you're out of LinkedIn for good. So you can't say, "Oh, really sorry, I didn't realize." Well, if you're going to try to hit on me, you realize exactly what you were doing. Okay. So really, let's really help each other. Again, it's this community of 850 million people all here to learn from each other and to nurture each other's need when it is a professional need. This is where we're different than Facebook and Twitter. This is a professional orientation.
Does that mean the posts that you put on LinkedIn should only reflect your expertise?
No, not necessarily. Now, this is a real gray area. So you're asking a really good question, George. The posts I put up there are something I think others might be able to benefit from that I didn't know or I hadn't appreciated. Like this one I'm going to put out later today. It was in the New York Times this morning about what's going to happen this winter with COVID and how to best protect yourself. Well, I'm not a COVID expert, but I liked it and I thought other people might benefit. If I could save one person from getting sick, then I've made my day. I've accomplished something today. All right. I also like to read things in areas that I have no expertise, no understanding, probably never even heard of before. I like to share things that I know a lot about so that I can gain the attention of other people to help them learn. So it doesn't have to be, but here's the thing I'd like most people to understand. Just because people are putting out these days a lot of personal stories, how I beat cancer, how my child, got abducted and we found him. I mean, there are stories like this, all this stuff, how my dog died in the last days of my dog. I mean, really, seriously, these are people who have emotional ties, and I respect that. I don't really think it belongs on LinkedIn unless there's a business lesson to be learned. Now, I broke my leg badly 9.5 years ago. The lesson I learned was if you take care of your customers, they take care of you when you need it. And I put a few posts on that, and I speak about that from time to time. Say, yes, I tell a story about how I had the lawnmower and the rock and hit my leg, and I was, in shock, and I went to the hospital, and I had to learn to walk again, and all that other stuff. But you know what? The customers were great. All I had to do was send one message, and everybody said, let's leave him alone for a little while. If it's really, really, really important, we'll talk to the people he relies upon that we've met in the past, and they'll know how to help me, or it will wait. And the respect I got back told me what they felt about me. Instead of, I don't care if you're lying in the hospital, get on the damn phone and call somebody at the processor, whatever it was. Because that happens. We need it now, right? We all want everything now. We don't want to wait. We don't want to wait 6 weeks till this guy gets back on his feet, literally. So I like to give a lesson learned. Maybe it's my age. Maybe I should have been a teacher. Maybe I am a teacher and I'm doing it anyway. Just never got trained professionally how to do it. It's the coach in me. Never got trained professionally to be a coach, but I really love it. I love the aha moments that the clients give me. You get it too, I'm sure, George, that they say, wow, I never thought of that before. You really reoriented my brain. Oh, good. I love that. And that's the moment you say, well, I'm glad that helped you. When we're done, if you could write a recommendation for me on LinkedIn, because I hit you right between the eyes with something that you always pondered that I made clearer for you, would you do that? And I'll tell you, I'll even ask you to use the words I send you and refashion them into your own recommendation. Because I know where I want the recommendation to go. I know what I want them to opine about in a skill that I have. I want them to reflect back on the story when Marc showed me how to, whatever that thing I want them to recommend me for. So I just don't send them, hey, George, would you send me a recommendation? Really appreciate it. I don't know what to write. And you go, well, I'll write this. I don't know if she'll like it. And we waste each other's time. And you send it to me as, no, George, it's not what I had in mind. Well, it's not what I had in mind because I never told you what I had in mind. So let me tell you right up ahead and manage the recommender with the recommendation I want to receive. I'm not writing it for you to put your name on it and send it back to me. I want you to put your personality and your observation into it, but I want it to reflect on something when you saw me go beyond yeoman work, whatever that is. And manage your recommendations, folks, because each recommendation has to reflect on the skill set that you perceive yourself to have, that other people are just giving light little endorsements, click, 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 but they may not necessarily have seen you master that skill. It's the recommenders who give their reputation and their name and their words to the skill. That time I saw Marc. Well, Marc says why he does what he does. He gives 125% of his octane to somebody. I saw him give that. So let me tell you why he did that for me, that I was so impressed about his why, or how well he did it for his why. Now we're talking about something useful. Now you're going to remember it. Now you're going to refer it. And that's what I want people to do. Make it a power tool of personal brand marketing. Because it has the potential, and most people don't handle power tools very well. It's dangerous.
Power tool of personal marketing. The recommendations is probably something that most people don't think much about. However, when I'm looking at a person's profile, I will scroll down to the recommendations, and one, I want to see how many they have. If they have 0, well, that doesn't look good. I even wonder if they're a real person. And I will glance at a few of them to get the nature of the recommendations, what people are saying about. And I'm looking for something other than, I worked for Marc, and he was a good boss because he let me go home early every day.
There's plenty of those, because they're easy to write, right? You don't have to put anything of yourself into them. So here's one thing you might probably do anyway, and subliminally, and you're looking to see, who do I know that recommended this person? Now, when you see a name you recognize, or you see a face that you recognize, you say, ooh, I got to read this one. Oh, this is a good one. All right. You don't know who knows who in this world, and everybody knows everybody. All the good people know all the good people at the end of the day, all over the world. I'm convinced of that. When you see a recommendation that you have taken the time to write, someone else taken the time to write, and you really pour your effort into it, you pick up the phone or you Zoom with that person and say, hey, I saw you wrote a recommendation from Marc. Wow. Tell me more. Well, I've just elevated to near godlyhood in your mind because your God of the person who has written my recommendation has recommended me. So here's the rule, the Halpert rule on recommendations. I always get this question. How many recommendations should I have? I think you take the number of people you're connected to. Remember, you know them all. You've talked to them, vetted them. So you've got a much smaller group. then most people just connect anything that moves, anything with carbon life force, as I like to say. It's got to be people that you really like and know you and worked with and have experienced time with. Take that number times 2%. That's the number of recommendations you should have. Because 98% of the people you know like you. 2% stark, raving, love you enough to commit to writing and their reputation on the line. I think this guy really does a good job, or I think this person does a really good job. Here's why and how I saw that. Whole nother level of understanding who this person is in this profile.
Marc, how does one, how can I get more recommendations for my profile?
Okay, I have a concept. I like to use this with people. It's very visual. You take a rock out of the earth, and maybe it's a precious stone. I say it's a precious stone. It's a lump. It's really ugly. You know it's got value, but it needs some facets. It needs an expert to carve facets in the stone. Every facet of the stone that gets carved by the expert, you the expert, has to reflect the skills that you project. Every time you polish those skills and the facet behind those skills, you let more light into the stone. Every recommendation has to capsulize that facet, which could have 1 or 2 or 3 or more skills in it, because skills tend to coagulate or collect together. Then you say, you're writing a recommendation for me for the skills 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let more light in. I can tell you I have those skills. But when somebody else says how well I project those skills, then you've let a lot of light in. And the diamonds and the precious stone out there is carefully cut based upon the need to make the stone shine. Again, amazinger than any other cut stone. And when you take care for planning out your LinkedIn profile and rewriting and tweaking your LinkedIn profile as you morph and change, because we all do, whether we want to admit it or not, we're changing. We changed immediately in the pandemic. So why not make your profile reflect who you are and why you do what you do and how amazing you are right now? Not last year, not pre-pandemic, not when you worked at Cadbury in 1979. I mean, come on. Now, they're buying you now. They're buying you now for who you are today, based upon where you came from and assembled the skills that you have. Skills I'm projecting to you right now, or skills I learned along the way that I have right now. And why would people want to ride my coattails for these skills into our collective future and work with me in the future? So your past makes your present indicates your future, and it's a little bit of a bet going into the future, because who knows, as we've well learned, what the future may hold. But why not tell your story the best way you can? And you tell as much as you can. What I do on my profile, I use quotes from other people who've quoted back to me after seeing me in work, in action. Not enough of a recommendation, but just a line. 80% of the attendees of the conference said you were the best speaker at the conference. You know what? That is beautiful. I love that. And that's something other people remember. I want to know how that happened. And have recommendations from other people, and have these little soft endorsements of skills from other people. So it's not just me telling about me. It's me saying what other people have said about me and letting other people actually say for themselves about me. And that adds a whole nother source of light to that cut stone.
Marc, so what I'm hearing there is, one, we need to encourage other people to say positive things about us. And when they do, we either need to get them to write a recommendation, or we at least need to capture those words and quote those words so that other people can hear what the people who like us said about us.
Absolutely. We're vulnerable as Entrepreneurs, we're dying for positive reinforcement. I mean, it's what we live for. Okay, we didn't get it in corporate, so we got it. We left it, and we got it. Get it on our own. We get it more often now than the once a year 360 review in corporate. So it's what we like. But it's everything I get complimented for is something I did. I can't say the accounting department did it. I am the accounting department. I can't say the legal department did it. My lawyer helps me do it. All right. So I am doing everything at once. I may as well let other people help me be the best I can and choose carefully who they are and how they say what they do and how I say what I say on LinkedIn. Because when you get a name and somebody says to you, hey, take a look at George Torok. Okay, where am I going to go? LinkedIn. I'm not going to Facebook. I'm not going to Twitter. I'm Instagram, anything. I'm going to LinkedIn because it's business to business to business person to business person. And then I begin to see who George is connected to that I'm connected to. And I see there's a bunch of people that we share in common. And then I can call and say, hey, how do you know George? And then they give me their little snippet. Hey, I'm going to be on George's show today. And they say, oh, I was on your intended message. It was so much fun. I had such a good time. I gave your name. And this is the way we met. So it becomes something that is like my living CV. Except a CV, typically a resume for Americans, is backward looking. It's like your obituary. You die today, they can write a great obituary on you from your CV or your resume. This is my past, makes me who I am today. You're buying me for today, or you're at least considering buying me for today. And you're buying me for how we can continue to work together in the future. I want to make this a long-term relationship. Because if you like what I have and I like what you need and have, then we're going to make this happen. I have clients for 20 years now. And not just LinkedIn clients, because there was no LinkedIn 20 years ago, but other businesses that I operate. And that's hard too, folks. If you're a multipreneur, you have multiple businesses. It's kind of hard to make LinkedIn reflect all the aspects of the 3 cut stones that you have, but you got to do it. And I've done that on my profile. So, there are always, everywhere I go, there are multipreneurs that do a lot of different things. There are lawyers who are stand-up comics in the middle of the night who get the worst abuse, even worse than a law firm. There are people, I'm just amazing what people do. But show yourself, show the various aspects of you. You said, I love taking pictures of flowers. Well, they're not going to appear on LinkedIn because that's my personal stuff. It's going to be on my Facebook page. I make the dividing. I fence things myself off in different ways, but it's all me. So I hope that answered.
And for listeners and viewers who are interested in learning more about Marc and LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn better and the services Marc provides, you can find the links below. You can find him naturally. You can find him on LinkedIn, and it is Marc with a C, Marc with a C, W Halpert. And you can also visit his website, which is Connect to Collaborate, and 2 is the number 2. And just a reminder, the word connect has 2 N's and collaborate has 2 L's. Connect to Collaborate. You can find both those links in the description below. Marc, as we prepare to wrap up, if you could give 1, 2, or 3 pieces of advice to our audience to right after they listen to this, they go to their LinkedIn profile, and what are the 1, 2, or 3 things they should check or do next?
Okay. First thing they should do, and I suggest you do this too, George, read your LinkedIn profile and ask yourself, does it tell why I do what I do? If it's a litany of factoids and horrible things that no one really cares about that you did 20 years ago or 5 years ago, that's ancient history, okay? Would you buy from you if you weren't you? Out-of-body experience? And I have people go, I don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know what you're talking about. I said, yeah, I do, because I'm asking the same question as I read your profile. So why are you ashamed of what you wrote if you don't want to take to heart refashioning your profile in a way that'll make people want to buy from you? Or if you don't want to do this, ask your best friends. Don't ask your significant other. You're never going to get an honest answer. Ask your best colleague group. Look at my profile. Does it tell the whole gamut of what I do? Why do you do what you do? I wrote 2 books on that theme on LinkedIn. All right. Simon Sinek's Why is huge. If you don't know it, God, look it up. Watch his 18-minute YouTube. Great YouTube. The other thing is, I would say, look and be sure every fact is correct. Every link works. The grammar is perfect. You're using complete sentences. Pronoun I, not Mr. Halpert says or Marc does. You're talking to your audience. So use I. Use power verbs. Google 185 power verbs. You will get well past has, was, made, did. That's 5th grade. We're not in 5th grade anymore, folks. We did that a long time ago. Okay. I don't care if you're an 8th grader watching right now. You did that a long time ago. So I don't care what your education level is. I don't care if you finished high school. Talk to the audience in a way the audience will respect you for the school of hard knocks you came through or for the education you have, whatever your degree is. I had a woman, she had 2 master's degree and a PhD and couldn't write. Oh my God, lawyers can't write. So get a writing coach. I do that. I'm a coach for the whole thing on LinkedIn. And I've had people who have had the worst grammar, the spelling, the syntax, unparalleled formats, and pay attention to details. Because if you're like me, I get paid to pay attention for details. If I am asleep at the wheel paying attention to details on my own profile, you're not going to hire me. So think about how others are perceiving you as they drop by in a nanosecond to make an impression on you. Do I want to read? How far can you get them to read on your LinkedIn profile? Really long answer to a really good question.
A lot of powerful tips there. I recommend that everyone play that back again and again and put that into action. My guest today is Marc Halpert, reminding you that on every post, be sure to include a call to action. If you like what you heard, remember to like, comment, and share this podcast. Come back every week for more practical insights to help you convey your intended message. I'm your host, George Torok.